All right, so first question here is Sahar, who says Kendrick Bourne or Trent Taylor. Who's better? Toss-up, right? I mean, we had this graphic earlier on in the show talking about how both of them were targeted 5 times. Bourne had more yards, but Trent Taylor had 2 catches for 7 yards. It's a massive problem. We heard all offseason how great Trent Taylor looked and how Trent Taylor was ready to be the next great slot receiver. Is Trent Taylor the next Wes Welker? Has 2 catches for 7 yards? Goodness gracious. Week 1, I understand, Trent's trying to figure things out, no preseason, but Bourne and Taylor have got to be a lot better. And I know that they're not number 1 wide receivers, and no one should expect them to be number 1 wide receivers, but they have got to be a lot better overall. I'll take Bourne over Taylor right now if I had to pick one, but look at this. I mean, can you pick one from these two? Pick one. Let me know. I'm going to read the comment section, but goodness gracious, they've got to be a lot better. Criminal Justice says, why do you think the Niners signed Sanu over Dez Bryant? Sanu's younger, and he's been healthier in his career overall. I get it that if you follow Dez Bryant on Twitter, he looks like he's working out very hard. And honestly, I think Dez can still play in the National Football League. But if Dez was actually going to be a top-tier wide receiver, just a serviceable wide receiver, the Niners would have made this deal over Mohamed Sanu. They signed Sanu, I think, 1, because Kyle Shanahan has worked with him before and loves the guy. I mean, raved about him in Atlanta, raved about him before they even signed him a couple of days ago. And 2, he's younger and has been more healthier than Dez Bryant is overall. Darian Ruiz says, will Mostert be a 1,000-yard rusher? He should. Now, again, only 6 yards his first game. Week 1, you saw him having to share the load there with Coleman and share the load there with McKinnon. And it's tough, right? Only 15 carries for, to me, a guy who should be getting 20-plus carries. Now, he did have 95 total receiving yards, so he's easily a 1,000-yard back with rushing and receiving combined. Will he get to 1,000 yards rushing with the other couple of running backs on the roster with him? Maybe, but I would bet probably more so than not, right? Because, again, how many carries did Coleman have last week? How many carries did McKinnon have last week? How many touches overall are these guys getting? They're each getting 5 to 10, and that keeps Raheem Mostert about 15 because you can't run the football every single down. So will he be a 1,000-yard rusher? He's good enough to be one. If he was a number 1 back on any other team, he would definitely be a 1,000-yard rusher. But with Coleman, with McKinnon, those guys need their touches. It makes it a little bit more difficult. He's for sure a 1,000-yard back overall with receiving yards and rushing yards. That's easy. I mean, he's on pace right now for over 150 yards a game. So, yes, easily. But at the same time, will he be? I'm not convinced. Justin says, how many TDs and yards for Reed in week 2? So, one thing that we're still kind of waiting on is the official word if Kittle's going to play on Sunday or not. There still is no word. Now, by the time you watch this, if you're watching the recorded version, maybe they've announced it. But Kittle is definitely banged up, right? He has the knee injury that's going on right now. It's a sprain, not a big deal. But still, look for Jordan Reed to get a lot more targets here in week 2, especially down in the red zone. I would start him in fantasy if you have him sitting there on the bench. The Jets are terrible, and we know that Jimmy Garoppolo loves his little safety blanket at the tight end spot. So I would say 5-6 catches, probably 60-70 yards, and 1 touchdown in the red zone for a good day for Jordan Reed. But let me know what you guys think down below. Speaking of letting me know, what is your score prediction, right? I want to get your score prediction for Sunday against the New York Jets. Now, it's going to be a win, right? The question is, will they blow out the Jets? Will they struggle against the Jets? Or will it be kind of an even back-and-forth game? I think it's going to be a blowout. I'm going Niners 24-13, which is still an 11-point win, so I'll call it a blowout. I'm saying 24-13. Niners is my prediction. I want to see your predictions, though, down below. It should be a win, though, right? They are going to win. They don't win. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be very, very bad overall. Justin says, trade a second-rounder and Pettis for a DB. If so, who would we pick up? I'm trying to think of a DB the 49ers could trade for right now that has been on the trading block. And the problem is you really can't. I think they're going to be okay in the secondary once everybody gets healthy. It's very clear that Sherman was not 100% going into the season based on what we saw this past week. I think Moseley and Witherspoon need to figure things out. Now, one of them obviously in the concussion protocol. The good news is you have the Jets and Giants the next 2 weeks, 2 very bad teams at the wide receiver spot. Even Philadelphia week 4 is nothing special. At least they weren't week 1. So I think they'll be okay. Would a second rounder and Pettis do it? Probably. But the question is, who's going to give you that? I can't think of a defensive back that is on the market right now that they should go ahead and sign or trade for. Especially not sign. There's no one in free agency, but trade for. There just isn't one that comes to mind who's disgruntled. Patrick Peterson maybe, but they won't trade him because that'd be in the division and a bad move for the Cardinals. So I would do it, but I just don't see anything out there. Robert says with a super chat, We sign OBJ or someone else. Love the show. Listen, first, I appreciate the super chat as well. You notice with the super chat, you are guaranteed to get your question answered, so I appreciate that. Will they sign? It's more like, will they trade for Odell Beckham Jr.? And listen, here's a guy who is an elite receiver. He hasn't played like one in a very long time, but he's someone that you would love to have on the 49ers roster. The question really is, again, how expensive? What do you have to give up to go out and get OBJ? Is OBJ worth a second-round draft pick? Like, is he worth a second-round draft pick? Is he really not give up first-round draft pick? Second, maybe, but you're hoping that Deebo Samuel is going to be that. You're hoping that Brandon Aiyuk is going to go ahead and be the first-round draft pick that he's supposed to be. So do they need him right now? Yes. Do they need him long-term? No. I think they're happy with Deebo and Aiyuk, and so I just wouldn't do it overall. Plus, Odell has baggage. I mean, the stories that come out about Odell Beckham Jr., just weird stuff, first off. I mean, it feels like there's always a weird thing happening with OBJ. Plus, you watch him tonight against the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. He hasn't had a 100-yard receiving game in over 12 games, which is not what elite number one wide receivers should be able to do. So will they trade for him? Probably not. Should they trade for him? Honestly, probably not either. So keep going for our questions here. Pick one, though, first. Again, I asked this earlier. Which one would you rather have? OBJ or Allen Robinson? Type OBJ, obviously for OBJ, or AR for Allen Robinson down below in the comments section as we're trying to get you guys to gauge in here. All right, OBJ diva, but more talent. Allen Robinson, still talented, but at least so far, less of a diva, although it feels like every single star wide receiver is somewhat of a diva. So, what are you going to do overall? A lot of people in the chat right now. I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys are doing good here on a Thursday night live Q&A as we always do. We're going to be doing a preview of the game here on Sunday in just a couple of minutes. Obviously, getting to some questions here right now in terms of Domo says, wide receiver or cornerback more. Right now, you need a wide receiver because right now the receiving core is pretty bad. We'll see what Aiyuk and Sanu do on Sunday. Technically, you need a cornerback as well, but the corner help is coming. I think Witherspoon and Moseley, once they're healthy from concussion, are going to be just fine. I think Sherman will be okay as well. Right now, I'd say wide receiver, but this is pick your poison. 1A, 1B, they're both a need right now in San Francisco, so let me know which one you guys would have. Before we keep going, though, if you watch the games on Sunday, almost every single Niner on the sideline was wearing one of these masks you see right here, and they are on sale. Chatsports.com/49masks, the place to pick up your official 49ers face covering. They come in one pack. There's a 2-pack right here with the 49ers logo. The gray one there is really sweet. And then the 3-pack as well. This one's been the most popular one for us here at Chat Sports. Again, chatsports.com/49masks. Hey, big family, right? Maybe Raheem Mostert's got a big family coming up here. 4-pack of masks. Boom, right there. All down below in the description box, so pick them up right now. The way you guys are safe. And listen, a lot of NFL teams are letting fans back in the stands in October. Maybe Santa Clara is the same way. You probably have to wear a mask, so pick up a 49er official mask right now. The way you look good, and you rep the Niners and stay safe at the exact same time. Chatsports.com/49masks. Link is down below in the description box. Peter asks, how many sacks for the 49ers in week 2? I don't think you take what happened in week 1 in terms of not being able to get to Kyler Murray as a prediction and an outlook for the future. I think they're going to get to Sam Darnold. I'm telling you, this pass rush is ready to go. Javon Kinlaw had a very good game overall, the highest rated pass rusher according to Pro Football Focus among every single pass rushing rookie. So I think they're going to get at least 3. Now, the offensive line, they got the new Thomas out of Georgia, looks pretty good. I think he's a Giant. They'll see him in 2 weeks. The offensive line right now, or the offense overall in New York for the Jets is not that great. So at least 3, maybe more. If I was Sam Darnold, I'd be very, very afraid about what's going on in San Francisco, or at least what will be in the Meadowlands this week against San Francisco if you're coming from a Jets perspective. But Kyler's slippery, right? This past week, I mean, you just can't get Kyler Murray to the ground. The closest thing to Michael Vick, honestly, that we've seen in a very, very long time. He was good. The Niners have to get better at containing him whenever they play these mobile quarterbacks. But you have Sam Darnold this week, so they should be just fine. Next question here comes from Darian, who says, however, should Sherman's injury affect the DBs overall? It'll have an impact. He's out for 3 weeks. He'll miss the Eagle game. Should be back for the Dolphin game week 5. But again, your next 3 opponents are the Jets. Can you name a Jet receiver besides Jamison Crowder? The Giants. Can you name a Giant receiver besides Sterling Shepard? And the Eagles. And the Eagles are banged up at wide receiver right now. Their best receivers, Deshaun Jackson, who had 2 catches for 24 yards last week. So none of the 3 games that Sherman will miss on IR are against big-name wide receivers. So I think that they're going to be okay at DB at least soon. Next question here is, you know who this is, Thomas? Do I know who this is, Thomas? Do you see us doing a mid-season trade? If so, for who? First off, do I know who this is? I don't think I know who this is because the LeBron James picture is throwing me off. Whoever you are, I don't know who you are. Just doing a mid-season trade. If so, for who? Again, people want to say wide receivers. I just don't see it. I don't see a midseason trade. I think when healthy, the Niners are going to be as competitive as anyone else in the NFC West. I wouldn't panic yet. Ask me when we get to midseason. Like week 8 is when we got to ask these questions, okay? All right, keep hitting that sub button as we do free videos every single day. Like you do realize every time you subscribe, we make more videos, and every single video is free. So that cable bill that you pay to go ahead and watch ESPN, to watch Stephen A. Smith never talk about the 49ers, you pay for that, whereas here it's free, and I only talk about the 49ers. So if you appreciate that, which hopefully you do, subscribe down below, big red subscribe button, youtube.com/49ers TV.